1. Parts and tools required. Your Kwikot heat pump comes in a box that also includes a manual for domestic installation, explaining the error codes and providing manual instructions for installation. Also included is the heat pump kit, which consists of the following parts. These 3 plugs, which are fitted to the condensation outlet points underneath the heat pump for draining purposes, and you can fit a conduit pipe to these if your heat pump is to be installed in a high position. The heat pump kit also includes a load control valve, a double drain cock, 2 lever ball valves, both 22mm in diameter, and a 22mm Y strainer. Then we also have 2 glands for fitting the electrical cable and microsensor that will connect the heat pump to the water heater. We also have 4 rubber feet to fit below the heat pump, along with bolts for the brackets that you will use if you would prefer to install your heat pump on a wall. And here are the wall brackets, which also come supplied. You'll also need the following other parts and tools for the installation. Some Connex males for fitting both the heat pump and the water heater, and also for your ball valves and strainers. Then you'll need a wrench and socket set for fitting the brackets, and a hacksaw blade to scratch the fittings. Next we have a pair of water pump pliers that we will need to tighten the fittings, and some cable ties that will be used to secure the cable onto the pipe. Some measuring tape just to measure the lengths of the pipes that you will need to cut, and then we have some PTFE tape for sealing the pipe threads. Alternatively, you can also use hemp for this instead of PTFE tape. Then we will also need a pipe cutter to cut the copper piping, and some 2.5mm electrical cable, which will be needed to supply power to the heat pump. And lastly, we will also need a star screwdriver and a wire snipper. Installing the heat pump and pipework. So we've positioned the heat pump on the floor directly below the water heater, which is positioned on the wall above. Our first step is going to be to lift up the heat pump unit at each side and fit the rubber feet below the brackets in the corner. And then we lower the heat pump over them and repeat on the other corner. These rubber feet will prevent vibration. The heat pump feet will need to be secured to the surface that the pump is sited on, or alternatively to the brackets supplied if it is wall mounted. Next we will remove the plastic caps from the water outlet and water inlet sockets. And then we take our Connex males and scratch the thread a little. And now you'll take your PTF tape or hemp and wind it around the thread and insert the Connex into the outlet. And then tighten it using your water pump pliers. Next we do the same thing for the inlet socket. And then we scratch and apply hemp or PTFE tape to 2 Connex males and fit them into both ends of your inline strainer. And tighten the fittings with your water pump pliers. And then we do the same with the 2 ball valves. First we apply hemp or tape, insert the Connex males, and tighten the fittings. As you can see, we have pre-cut the pipes to the required lengths in order to speed up the pipework process. We begin by fitting this length into the inlet socket and tighten the fitting. And then next we fit a Connex elbow and tighten the first fitting, and then we tighten the other fitting. And next we fit the inline strainer. The strainer must be pointed down so that when you clean the inside of the strainer cylinder, the dirt will drain downwards. And then we tighten up the join, add our third length of pipe, and fit the lever valve. This will allow us to shut off the water flow when you want to clean the strainer without having to drain or isolate the water heater. We will also fit another lever valve on the hot side, and now we fit another elbow. So we're not going to tighten this side of the lever valve because we still need to apply lagging to this copper pipe. And then we fit another longer length of pipe. And then we fit another longer length of pipe and another elbow to run a final length of pipe up to the water heater. So now your cold pipe running to the heat pump is connected to this double drain cock. Our next step is to remove these 3 lengths of pipe in order to fit R1 lagging around them. And now that the pipework is lagged, we can now refit the top end of the pipe back onto the double drain cock on the water heater, and then loosen the connex at the heat pump inlet so that we can refit the bottom end of the lagged piping. And then we retighten the inlet connex. So now we've completed this connection. The next step is to fit the load control valve to the outlet. In this case, we don't need to adjust the setting because it's already set to 55 degrees Celsius. And we can just hand tighten it so that the valve is secure and doesn't move. And then we add this short length of pipe, to which we fit the second ball valve and tighten it. Next we add another length of pipe and tighten the ball valve, add an elbow and tighten it, and add a vertical pipe to connect to the water heater's renewable port and tighten it up. And then we tighten the elbow down below. Now we're going to remove the last 3 lengths of piping in one piece in order to fit our lagging. We trim off this piece of lagging after feeling where the pipe is. And then we can refit it to the renewable port. Then we will refit the lower end of the pipework into the ball valve at the bottom. And lastly, we apply some lagging to the short section between the mixing valve and the ball valve. And another piece around the first length of pipe between the heat pump inlet and the lever ball valve. And tape up the gaps in the lagging. So now our pipework is done. Up at the top left is the control panel with a circuit diagram alongside. Next we'll unscrew and remove the second inner plate in order to access the wiring and connect the heat pump to the power supply. And for that we'll use our 2 glands and fit them onto these exits on the side of the box. These will hold 2 cables, a microsensor cable running to the water heater and the power supply cable. First we're going to strip the end of the cable so that the live, neutral and earth wires can be separated. And then fit it to the correct ports on the power supply block on the right of the board. And then we secure the cable below the block. And next we cut the cable tie that is securing the microsensor cable, which is down here, and then pass it through the gland. And we're now going to install the other end of the microsensor at the thermostat on the water heater. First we're pulling out the microsensor, and then we're going to measure out enough cable to reach the thermostat above, and any excess cable can simply be placed back into the machine and tied down. Now up at the water heater we will remove the cover on the element and the thermostat, and then we feed the sensor wire through this hole in the cover, and next we pull out the thermostat itself, and we're just going to press down the whole of the white section of the microsensor wire with your fingers so that it doesn't get stuck or damaged when it's inside the thermostat. And then we reinsert the thermostat into this lower socket and insert the microsensor along with it. Then we can replace the cover, and the microsensor will send to the heat pump an accurate measure of the temperature inside your water heater. And then using cable ties, we will secure the microsensor cable all the way back to the heat pump. So the electric cable needs to enter via the isolator that your electrician will install, and it should be positioned 1 meter away from the heat pump. This will allow you to isolate the heat pump if you need to work on it. Any excess cable can be placed back inside the box and then secured using the screen cable. If you need to move the screen cable from the machine, the white excess cable is about 5 meters long. And lastly, we can replace the cover. Commissioning the system. Our pipework and electrical connections are complete, so we can now commission the system. First, we open the bottom lever valve on the inlet pipework. The cold water will flow through it and then through the heat pump's heat exchanger. Next, we open this valve on the outlet pipework and bleed all the air out. Once the water is running clear through the system, you can close this valve again. And then we open the hot water ball valve leading back to the water heater. And now your system is full of water, so we can switch on the system. To do that, we switch on the heat pump on the control panel. So on the display on the left, you will see it is set to a temperature of 60 degrees, but you can increase that to 65 or even 75 degrees, which is the maximum. But the most comfortable temperature to choose is 65 degrees. Then we just press the power button on the right, and it now shows us that 17 degrees is the temperature inside the water heater right now. There will be a delay of about 2 minutes before the circulation pump starts operating, and then the fan will start, and then the compressor will start. And now our heat pump is running. Lastly, we replace the cover and tighten the screws. So we're done. Your heat pump will now save you money and conserve energy.